It started on a Tuesday morning. The giant screens in Times Square went dark all at once. In London, Paris, Tokyo, and every major city across the globe, all broadcasts stopped at exactly the same moment. Then a blue light filled every screen, every phone, and every tablet worldwide. Ambassador James Walker was drinking his morning coffee in the United Nations building when it happened. He spilled the hot drink on his blue tie when the hologram appeared in the middle of the General Assembly Hall. The coffee stain was the least of his worries. The alien that appeared was tall, with gray skin that seemed to shimmer like metal. It had 4 arms and wore what looked like golden armor. Behind it stood 6 other aliens, each different from the others, forming what they would soon learn was the Galactic Council. People of Earth, the gray alien spoke in perfect English, its voice echoing through every speaker on the planet. We are the Galactic Council, the governing body of civilized space. Your world has been monitored since your first radio transmission. The time has come for Earth to join the galactic community. Walker watched as his fellow ambassadors whispered among themselves. Some looked scared, others excited. A few reached for their phones, trying to contact their governments, but all communications were blocked. However, the alien continued. Membership comes with responsibilities. As is tradition, all new species must prove their commitment to peace and cooperation through tribute. The word tribute made Walker's stomach turn. He had studied enough history to know what that meant. His fears were confirmed moments later. Earth will provide 30% of its total resources as tribute. This includes minerals, water, biological materials, and processed goods. You have 30 standard days to begin the first delivery. This is non-negotiable. The Russian ambassador stood up, his face red with anger. And if we refuse? The alien's 6 eyes blinked slowly. Then Earth will face the consequences of its barbaric choice. We are civilized beings. We prefer peaceful solutions, but make no mistake, we have brought peace to many worlds who initially chose unwisely. Walker stepped forward. As the head of the UN Security Council this month, it fell to him to respond. His hands were shaking, but his voice remained steady. The United Nations requests time to discuss this matter with all Earth's nations. You have 30 days, the alien repeated. We will return for your answer and the first tribute payment. The hologram flickered and disappeared, leaving the hall in chaos. Within hours, the world's leaders gathered in an emergency session. They met in a specially shielded room deep under the Swiss Alps, one of many bunkers built during the Cold War. President Thompson of the United States sat next to Premier Lai of China, their usual rivalries forgotten in the face of this new threat. They're demanding nearly 1/3 of everything we have, Walker explained to the room. Water, oil, rare earth elements, crops, everything. Paying would cripple our economies, the German chancellor said, looking at the projected numbers. But refusing could mean extinction. We should fight. The Brazilian president stood up, pounding his fist on the table. We're not some primitive tribe to be bullied by colonial powers. Fight. With what? Premier Lai asked quietly. Did you see their technology? They can broadcast worldwide, block all our communications, and project solid holograms. Our best weapons would probably seem like toys to them. The room fell silent. Walker looked around at the faces of Earth's most powerful people. He saw fear in their eyes, but also something else. Something that had always defined humanity throughout its history. Determination. Maybe, Walker said slowly, we don't have to choose between submission and extinction. Maybe there's a third option. He pulled out a report that had just arrived from military intelligence. Our sensors detected something interesting during the broadcast, something that might give us a chance. The world leaders leaned forward as Walker began to explain. None of them knew it yet, but this meeting would mark the beginning of humanity's greatest test, and perhaps its finest hour. Colonel Michael Reed hadn't slept in 2 days. Dark circles hung under his eyes as he stared at the screens in front of him. The military intelligence officer had been studying the alien transmission nonstop since it happened, looking for anything unusual. Now, in a secure underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, he finally found something. "Play it again," he told his team. "Slow it down to 1/10 speed." The recording of the alien transmission played once more. This time, hidden beneath the main signal, Reed's equipment picked up a second stream of data. It was encrypted, but different from the primary broadcast. "Got you," Reed whispered, his tired face breaking into a smile. He picked up the red phone that connected directly to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. "Sir, you need to see this. Now." Within an hour, the room was filled with military leaders from around the world. Reed stood before them, no longer tired as adrenaline pumped through his veins. The Galactic Council's broadcast wasn't just a message, he explained, pointing to the data streams on the main screen. They were also communicating with hidden ships in our solar system. "We broke their encryption 20 minutes ago." He pressed a button, and alien text appeared on the screen. Translated into English, the room fell silent as they read. "Species 7249 advancing too rapidly," Reed read aloud. "Probability of reaching level 3 space travel within 50 cycles, 89%. Recommended action: resource drain through tribute system before full technological maturity. If resistance encountered, immediate military action authorized." "They're afraid of us," General Williams said, breaking the silence. "They're not here to collect tribute. They want to weaken us before we become too strong." Reed nodded. "There's more. Remember those trading ships that visited last year? The ones that claimed to be independent merchants?" He pulled up another file. "We had spies on board. Look what they found." The screen showed pictures of alien military documents, battle plans, fleet movements, all centered around Earth's solar system. "They've been planning this for years," Reed continued. "The tribute demand is just an excuse. If we pay, we'll be too weak to fight when they decide to take over completely. If we refuse, they'll have an excuse to attack us right now." "Can we warn the public?" asked the British admiral. "No," Reed replied firmly. "Their ships are watching us. If they realize we know their real plans, they'll skip the tribute excuse and attack immediately. We need to play along while we prepare." The room erupted in argument. Some wanted to fight immediately. Others wanted to try diplomacy. A few even suggested paying the tribute and hoping for mercy. Finally, General Williams stood up. "Enough. Colonel Reed is right. We need to be smart about this." He turned to the others. "Tell your governments, but nothing goes public. As far as the council knows, we're just poor primitives trying to gather their tribute." Reed spoke up again. "Sir, there's one more thing." He showed them the final piece of data his team had decoded. The council's ships, they all use the same type of shielding. And now we know exactly how it works. For the first time since the aliens appeared, the military leaders smiled. Humanity had a chance, but only if they played their cards right. Over the next few days, as the world's governments publicly debated about gathering the tribute, things started happening quietly. Factories switched production lines in secret. Research labs worked around the clock. Military bases buzzed with activity, hidden from orbital observation. And in a secret facility deep under the Pacific Ocean, engineers began building something that would change everything. The aliens thought humans were primitive. They thought Earth would either pay tribute or fight a hopeless war. They were wrong on both counts. Humanity had a third option, and the Council was about to learn a hard lesson about underestimating humans. The real question was, could Earth get ready in time? They had less than 4 weeks left, and the clock was ticking. Admiral Kate Stone stood on the deck of the U.S. Enterprise, watching the sunset over the Pacific Ocean. This might be one of the last peaceful moments she would have. As the newly appointed commander of Earth's combined defense force, the weight of humanity's survival rested on her shoulders. "Admiral," her aide called from behind, "the test is ready to begin." Stone nodded and turned away from the sunset. In the darkness of night, they would test humanity's secret weapon. 20 ships from different nations waited in formation, each carrying a piece of new technology that might save Earth. "Start the test," she ordered. High above the ocean, a salvaged alien scout ship, recovered from a crash site years ago, powered up its weapons. The ship had been restored and was now controlled remotely. It aimed at an old cargo ship floating in the test area. The alien weapon fired. A blast of energy shot through the night sky, lighting up the ocean. But instead of destroying the cargo ship, something amazing happened. A shield flickered to life around it, absorbing the blast completely. "It works," Professor Thomas said from his station, grinning widely. The reverse-engineered shields work. The old scientist had led the team that studied the alien technology. They had not only understood it but improved upon it. "How long until we can outfit all our ships?" Stone asked. 2 weeks if every factory on Earth works around the clock, Thomas replied. "We've simplified the design enough that even car manufacturing plants can help build the components." Stone allowed herself a small smile. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to adapt and improve. The aliens thought humans were primitive, but they had never seen anything like Earth's industrial capacity when fully mobilized. Around the world, preparation continued in secret. In underground bases, pilots trained on simulators programmed with the alien ship's capabilities. In hidden factories, workers built new weapons and shields. In mountain bunkers, strategists planned for every possible scenario. But they had to be careful. The alien ships watching Earth couldn't suspect anything. So while the real work happened in secret, a very public show continued on the surface. "Another shipment of tribute is ready," reported Commander Baker, Stone's second-in-command. On the coast, huge containers were being loaded onto ships, supposedly filled with Earth's resources for the Council. "What's really in them?" Stone asked. "Rocks. Worthless rocks wrapped in thin layers of valuable minerals," Baker grinned. "If they scan the containers, they'll detect the real resources, but they're just hollow shells." Stone nodded in approval. Every real resource was being used to build their defenses. They couldn't afford to waste anything actually valuable on the fake tribute. The next 2 weeks passed quickly. Every day, the shields got better. The weapons got stronger. The pilots got more skilled. But they also got closer to the Council's deadline. 3 days before the deadline, Stone called all fleet commanders for a final meeting. They gathered in an underground command center representing every major navy on Earth. "The Council expects to find a weak, divided planet scrambling to gather tribute," she told them. "Instead, they'll find the largest combined fleet in human history, armed with weapons they don't expect us to have." She pointed to the battle plans displayed on the main screen. "We'll only get one chance at surprise. Every ship must be in position. Every weapon must work perfectly. Every pilot must be ready." The commanders nodded grimly. They had trained for this. Their crews were ready. Humanity was ready. "Remember," Stone said finally, "we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every species the Council has bullied and exploited. It's time someone stood up to them." As the commanders left to return to their ships, Stone looked at the countdown clock on the wall. Less than 72 hours remained until the Council returned. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin. The Council's ships appeared exactly on schedule. They came out of light speed just beyond Mars' orbit, 50 massive warships that made Earth's largest vessels look tiny in comparison. Their golden hulls gleamed in the sunlight as they moved toward Earth in perfect formation. In the Combined Defense Force headquarters, Admiral Stone watched them approach on the main screen. To any observer, Earth appeared defenseless. The planet's surface showed only cargo ships loaded with tribute, waiting in ports around the world. "They're broadcasting," announced the communications officer. The same gray alien appeared on their screens. "People of Earth, we have returned for the tribute. Begin loading your resources onto our ships immediately." Stone took a deep breath and pressed a button on her command chair. Across the solar system, hidden ships powered up their engines. Behind every moon, inside asteroid fields, and concealed in planetary rings, Earth's fleet revealed itself. "I'm afraid," Stone replied to the alien transmission, "that Earth has a different answer for you." The Council ships suddenly found themselves surrounded by 300 Earth vessels, all equipped with reverse-engineered and improved alien technology. Before the Council fleet could react, Stone gave the order, "All ships, execute Battle Plan Alpha." What followed was unlike anything in human military history. The Earth ships didn't fight like the Council expected. Instead of forming standard battle lines, they broke into small groups of 3 or 4. Each group attacked from different angles, moving in patterns that seemed chaotic, but were carefully planned. "They're trying to form a defensive sphere," reported Commander Baker. "Just like we predicted." Stone nodded. The Council ships were trying to follow their standard battle doctrine, but Earth's vessels didn't give them the chance. Every time the alien ships tried to form up, the human ships would scatter and attack from new directions. "Launch the drones," Stone ordered. Thousands of small, unmanned craft shot out from Earth's ships. They were simple machines, built from converted satellites, but they carried a special weapon: electromagnetic pulse generators designed to work against alien shields. The Council ships fired their energy weapons, but Earth's improved shields held. The aliens had never updated their weapons because no one had ever survived long enough to develop countermeasures. Until now. "First Council ship shields are down," someone shouted. Stone watched as the battle unfolded exactly as planned. The Council ships were more powerful, but they were also predictable. They had fought the same way for thousands of years because it had always worked. They weren't ready for human creativity. Earth ships darted between the larger Council vessels, firing at critical points identified from the salvaged scout ship. The drones overwhelmed the alien targeting systems, and most importantly, the Council fleet had no idea how to counter these tactics. "Admiral," Baker called out, "their flagship is signaling. They're asking for a ceasefire." Stone allowed herself a small smile. "Tell them we accept, on condition that they withdraw to Jupiter's orbit for negotiations." The battle had lasted less than 2 hours. 3 Earth ships were destroyed, and 20 more damaged. But the Council fleet had lost 12 ships, with many more crippled by Earth's weapons. As the alien ships retreated, cheers erupted in command centers across Earth. But Stone didn't celebrate. She knew this was just the beginning. "Send word to all commands," she ordered. "Full alert status remains in effect, and get me a secure line to the UN Security Council." On her screen, she could see the Council ships moving away. They had won their first battle, but the war was just starting. The Council would return with a larger fleet, and they would be angry. But Earth had shown something important today. Humans could fight back. They could win. And most importantly, they had shown the Council that humanity would not bow down to bullies, no matter how powerful they seemed. The real war was about to begin. 2 weeks after Earth's victory, the Council made their next move. Their message reached every screen on Earth, but this time it wasn't just the gray alien speaking. All 7 Council members appeared together. "Humanity has proven itself to be a barbaric and dangerous species," they announced. "For the safety of civilized space, Earth must be contained. Our full fleet approaches. Surrender now or be destroyed." In the CDF headquarters, Admiral Stone watched the live feed from their deep space sensors. The Council wasn't lying. Over 300 warships were heading toward Earth, nearly 6 times the size of the First Fleet. "They're trying to scare us," Commander Baker said, standing beside her. "Make us give up without a fight." Stone shook her head. "No, they're trying to justify what they always planned to do." She pressed the command channel button. "All ships, execute Operation First Strike." I repeat, Operation First Strike is now active. Across the solar system, Earth's fleet moved into action. But they weren't falling back to defend Earth. Instead, they were heading out toward the edges of the solar system and beyond. The Council never expected humans to have mapped their supply lines. They never thought Earth would know where their staging areas were, and they certainly didn't expect humans to strike first. Earth's ships jumped into light speed in small groups, using the improved drive systems they'd developed. Each group had a different target: Council supply bases, fuel stations, and staging areas scattered across nearby star systems. "First strike successful," reported Baker, reading the incoming data. 3 Council staging bases destroyed. 5 supply depots hit. Their fleet is going to have nowhere to refuel. Stone nodded. The Council's massive fleet needed huge amounts of fuel and supplies. By striking their support network first, Earth had changed the battle before it even began. But the real surprise was happening in the asteroid belt. While some Earth ships attacked Council bases, others were hiding among the rocks, waiting. They had turned the asteroids themselves into weapons. When the Council fleet entered the solar system, they found chaos. Hundreds of asteroids were moving in strange patterns, guided by hidden human ships. Their neat formation broke apart as they tried to avoid collisions. "They're splitting up," Baker said with satisfaction, "just like we planned." The Council's rigid military doctrine had no answer for these tactics. They had rules for space combat, developed over thousands of years. But humans didn't follow those rules. They used asteroids as shields and weapons. They attacked in seemingly random patterns. They struck targets the Council thought were safely hidden. "Message from the Council fleet," called out the communications officer. "They're demanding we stop being dishonorable and fight properly." Stone actually laughed at that. "Tell them warfare isn't about honor. It's about winning." The battle spread across the solar system. Council ships found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't predict. Every time they thought they had Earth's ships cornered, the humans would do something unexpected. But the most surprising thing happened near Jupiter. A Council supply ship, damaged in the fighting, sent out a distress call. But it wasn't calling for help from the Council fleet. "Admiral," Baker said excitedly, "you need to see this. The supply ship. It's crewed by members of another subject species. They're asking for asylum." Stone leaned forward in her chair. "Put them through." The alien that appeared on screen looked nothing like the Council members. It spoke quickly, nervously. "We've been watching. You fight the Council. You resist. Others want to help. Many species are tired of Council rule. We can." The transmission cut off as a Council warship destroyed the supply ship. But the message had been sent. Earth wasn't alone in its fight against the Council. The war was growing bigger than anyone had expected. Ambassador James Walker stood before a very different audience now. Instead of the UN General Assembly, he faced a secret meeting of alien representatives. They gathered in an abandoned mining station orbiting Saturn, far from the Council's watching eyes. "Earth is not fighting for ourselves alone," Walker told the assembled aliens. "We fight for every species that has suffered under Council rule. Every world forced to pay tribute. Every civilization held back from its true potential." The aliens looked nothing like humans. Some had multiple limbs, others floated in special tanks, and a few were just clouds of light. But they all shared one thing. They were all victims of the Council's protection. One alien stepped forward, its crystalline body catching the light from Saturn's rings. "The Council has ruled for 10,000 years. How can we hope to win?" Walker smiled and pressed a button. A hologram appeared, showing the recent battles. Earth ships dancing through asteroid fields. Council vessels falling to unexpected tactics. Supply bases exploding as human strikes hit them. "Because they've grown lazy," Walker explained. "They think their way is the only way. But humanity has learned something important in our short history. There is always another way." From the back of the room, Admiral Stone spoke up. "We don't ask you to fight like us. Fight in your own way. The Council won't expect that. They've forgotten that different doesn't mean wrong. The crystalline alien's body pulsed with light. My people build the best sensor arrays in known space. The Council forces us to make them simple, basic, but we could make them so much more. My species, rumbled another alien, its massive form barely fitting in the room. We mine asteroids with ease. We could adjust their paths, create chaos in Council space. One by one, the aliens began sharing their hidden strengths, things the Council had forced them to hide or limit, technologies they had pretended not to understand, weapons they had kept secret. More alien ships arrived every day. The Council had ruled through fear and division, keeping species separated. They never imagined their subjects would unite. In her command center, Stone studied the reports. 20 different species had joined Earth's alliance in just 2 weeks. Each brought their own unique abilities and technologies. The Council's trying to respond, Commander Baker reported. They're doubling the tribute demands on their subject worlds. That will only make more join us, Stone replied. She looked at the tactical display, now showing friendly forces across hundreds of star systems. How many ships do we have now? Over 2,000, Baker answered. And more coming. The Council's losing control of whole sectors. They don't know how to handle multiple species all fighting differently at once. The Council had always won because they forced everyone to fight by their rules. But now, they faced humans using asteroids as weapons, crystal beings turning sensors against them, gas giants creating solar storms, and a dozen other species all fighting in unique ways. Walker's voice came over the command channel. Admiral, the Alliance Council has made its decision. We're going to take the fight to them, to their capital. Stone studied the plans the Alliance had drawn up. It was crazy, impossible, and exactly the kind of thing that might work. Humans weren't the only ones who could think outside the box. Send word to all Alliance forces, she ordered. The Council thought they could keep us divided and weak. Instead, they united us. And now they're going to learn what happens when you push too far. The next phase of the war was about to begin. Not just humans against the Council, but a united galaxy fighting for freedom. The Council's greatest nightmare had come true. Their victims had stopped being afraid and started working together. The Council's capital system was supposed to be impenetrable. 3 suns orbited each other, creating a maze of gravitational fields that made normal space travel impossible. The only safe path was a narrow corridor, guarded by the largest defense fleet ever assembled. But the Council had never faced an enemy like the Alliance. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of her flagship, now twice its original size thanks to upgrades from their alien allies. Around her ship, the largest fleet in galactic history gathered. Human ships flew alongside crystalline vessels that bent light itself. Massive mining ships converted into warships moved into position. Living ships grown by gas-dwelling species pulsed with energy. All Alliance forces report ready, Commander Baker announced. We're just waiting for the signal. Stone nodded. Send the message to the Council one last time. On every screen in the capital system, the Alliance's message played. Ambassador Walker spoke first, followed by representatives of 30 other species. Their demand was simple. The Council must step down and allow free elections for a new galactic government. The Council's response was predictable. We have ruled for 10,000 years. We bring order to chaos. Submit or be destroyed. They never learn, Stone said quietly. Then, louder. All ships, execute Operation Daybreak. The battle began, but not how the Council expected. Instead of attacking through the narrow safe corridor, Alliance ships attacked from all directions at once. The crystal ships bent light around other vessels, hiding them from sensors. The gas-dwelling species living ships absorbed the deadly radiation from the 3 suns. Human ships used the gravitational chaos to slingshot themselves at impossible speeds. The Council's perfect defense plan fell apart. They had built their strategy assuming everyone would follow the safe path. They never imagined anyone would be crazy or creative. enough to find other ways. Council Defense Fleet is in chaos, Baker reported. They're trying to cover all approaches at once. Their formation is breaking. Stone watched as years of planning came together. Each alliance species used their unique abilities. Together, they did what none of them could have done alone. The battle raged for hours. Ships were lost on both sides. But slowly, steadily, the alliance pushed toward the Council's capital world. "Admiral," Baker called out, "we're picking up transmissions from the planet. The Council, they're trying to escape." Stone allowed herself a small smile. "Send in the final wave." From behind one of the suns emerged a fleet of ships no one had seen before. The Council's subject species had built them in secret over centuries, hiding them from their oppressors. Now these ships, combining technology from dozens of civilizations, moved in for the final strike. The Council's escape ships never made it out of orbit. Within hours, the capital world was surrounded. The Council had no choice but to surrender. In the capital city's Grand Hall, where the Council had once looked down on their subjects, representatives from all Alliance species gathered. Walker stood among them as they drafted a new constitution for the galaxy. "Each species will have an equal voice," he read from the document. "No more tributes, no more oppression. We will face the future together, as equals." Stone watched from her ship as celebrations erupted across thousands of worlds. Fireworks lit up the skies of countless planets. Species that had once been forced to hide their achievements now shared them openly. "Message from Earth," Baker said, handing her a tablet. The news brought tears to her eyes. The United Nations had voted to establish a new holiday, Alliance Day, not to celebrate a military victory, but to remember how different species came together to build something better. The Council had demanded tribute and threatened war. Instead, they had accidentally created something they never intended, a truly united galaxy. And it all started because they made the mistake of trying to bully a species that refused to bow down. Humanity had gone from being an isolated species to helping lead a galactic alliance. But their greatest victory wasn't defeating the Council. It was showing that there's always a better way forward if you're brave enough to try.